So, what is Instagram marketing and why should you care? When devising your internet marketing strategy, it can be all too easy to forget about Instagram in the mix. Compared with Facebook, Instagram has relatively few users and it's not clear how it can be monetized. There's no content in an image and people don't want pictures in their Instagram feed telling them to buy now or sign up to the mailing list. So, with all that in mind, why would you invest a lot of time and money into the platform? Well, actually, there are a lot of good reasons. When used correctly, Instagram is a fantastic way to promote products and services, to increase your brand's visibility, and to position yourself as a hip and artistic organization. We'll get into the details and statistics a bit later on, but you'll probably be surprised. Instagram is actually bigger than Twitter, and its users are far more engaged and far happier to buy products, even when compared with Facebook itself. Let's take a look at what Instagram actually is and why it matters in a big way for your business. There's a good chance that you already know the gist of what Instagram is about, but let's just recap on the nuts and bolts. Essentially then, Instagram is a social network that revolves around pictures. At its most basic, Instagram is an image-sharing smartphone app. But unlike something like Imager, the pictures tend to be a little more personal. This is not where you would want to upload an image to share with a client, for instance. The image quality wouldn't even be high enough for most uses. Instead, Instagram is about telling your story or finding beautiful moments in the everyday. It's about being personal and it's about keeping people up to date with your activities. So if you were to go on holiday, you might take hundreds of photos for Facebook. But Instagram would be where you'd upload the select few highlights or that beautiful picture of the sunset or the empty pint on the beach. This is all about expression. The relatively low image quality and square dimensions are in service of this artistic bent, as are the filters that Instagram lets you apply. Once you've cropped your photo into a square, you then have the option to apply filters that will alter the brightness, contrast, structure, saturation, warmth, and so on to create a number of effects. Photos can be made to look vintage, colors can be brought out or subdued, and generally you can alter the mood and impact of your image in a variety of ways. Once you've done this, you have the option to add tags to your images. Now, these work in the same way as tags on Twitter. They describe what's in the image, and then they allow other people to find your image by searching. These tags will be added using the hashtag symbol and can be placed right inside your description. If you took a photo of yourself working out, then you might write, getting some pump on hashtag legs day, hashtag workout, hashtag fitness. This way, anyone who searched for hashtag fitness shortly after would see your picture come up, until it was buried by the other pictures with the same hashtag, which, quite frankly, wouldn't take very long. Later we'll examine how to pick the best hashtags for optimal visibility. Also in your description, you can tag other users using the @ symbol. You can also tag users in the pictures themselves, much like on Facebook. Instagram also has the ability to message photos with Instagram Direct. And as with Twitter, it's possible for users to follow accounts they like and to be updated regularly with new content as it gets uploaded by the said account. Simply tap on the name of the person who uploaded the photo and click follow. As a business on Instagram, getting lots of follows is going to be your main objective. What you might have noticed about all this is it isn't immediately conducive to marketing. That is to say, people on Instagram are largely there to see updates from their friends and family and to see beautiful pictures uploaded by the likes of the National Geographic. This is where people come to see the beauty in everyday life. This in turn means you need to be very strategic about the way you market here, but it can be done. Here are a few compelling reasons that you should be on Instagram. Remember when I said that Instagram wasn't as big as Facebook? Well, it's important to remember that all this is relative. Sure, it's not as big as Facebook, but then nothing is. That doesn't mean that it's not objectively pretty large, though. In fact, Instagram is still huge. Specifically, Instagram announced in December 2014 that it had surpassed 300 million users. Now that's a pretty large number, especially when you consider it only had 200 million users 9 months before that. In other words, Instagram is growing and growing fast. And while you might think of Instagram as one of the smaller social networks, this is not true at all. Because, in fact, Instagram has more users now than Twitter. And this is likely owing to its broader appeal. Things get even crazier when you consider how effective Instagram can be when used in synergy with the likes of Facebook and Twitter. You can instantly share Instagram images on Facebook and Twitter via built-in controls, and the connection is very close indeed. The format of Instagram is very similar to Twitter as it uses hashtags and tags, and this means you can upload content to Instagram and it will act as though you are uploading the content to Twitter. There's even a section on Facebook for your Instagram photos. Why? Well, because Instagram is actually now owned by Facebook. This provides the perfect way for you to tie all your social media accounts together to save a lot of time uploading to multiple different channels and to increase your brand visibility. It even plays nicely with Pinterest, which just so happens to be another sorely underutilized social network for marketers. On top of all that, Instagram is actually a great place to sell. According to recent studies, a lot of users actually use Instagram to shop, and some users even use Instagram primarily for shopping. To put this in numbers, 70% of those surveyed by Iconosquare in 2015 stated that they have at some point sought out a brand on Instagram. 62% have followed brands they love, while 41% said they would be happy to hear about giveaways and discounts through Instagram. 65% said that rather than being intrusive, they actually find it flattering when a brand likes their post. Meanwhile, according to studies based on research firm L2, Instagram users are far more engaged than users on Facebook or Twitter, 18 times more in fact. That means that if a brand posts something, it's much more likely to see actual interaction with users. As though that wasn't enough reason to start investing in Instagram big time, it's also worth remembering that Instagram is drastically underestimated by a lot of businesses and internet marketers. In other words, your competition most likely isn't making the most of Instagram right now, and this will make it much easier for you to stand out and get noticed. Get there now and you'll be able to build a big following before every other company in the industry jumps on the bandwagon. Finally, there's the amazing ROI that Instagram offers. Brands love Twitter because it's so incredibly easy for them to upload content. The same can be said of Instagram. If you know how to take great photos, upload them and add tags, you can keep a very active account with just a few minutes a day or even a few minutes a week. In the next video, we'll get down to business and I'll show you how to start Instagram Marketing 101. You'll likely have been a little surprised with the statistics we covered in the last video. Instagram is bigger than Twitter and better for engagement than Facebook. Time to get on with it. But why is Instagram so good for interaction? What is it about this channel that makes it potentially a goldmine for companies hoping to make an impression on their prospective audiences? Especially considering that, on the face of it, Instagram seems very much more geared towards sharing personal content with no marketing angle. Well, actually, it's this focus and this limitation that actually makes Instagram so effective. You see, people are very cynical of businesses and they're very tired of seeing the same marketing message over and over again. It's incredibly annoying to head on over to Facebook to have a chat with your friends or to see photos of your new niece, only to be bombarded with offers for products saying, "Click here, enter your email, buy now." Is it any wonder people aren't engaging? On Instagram, though, there's no click here or buy now. Rather, there's just, here's a photo of us working in our office. A funny meme, a picture of something that encapsulates the subject you're interested in, a new product framed artistically, you know, that sort of thing. And this is far less invasive. As such, brands on Instagram come across as much more genuine and they don't appear to have some obvious ulterior motive. At the same time, because you're forced to create something artistic and interesting on Instagram, that will help make your business seem much more trendy, artistic and interesting itself. A company that's constantly uploading pictures of sunsets, of their products in amazing lighting or of inspirational messages is going to seem much more savvy and in tune with their customers, as opposed to a company that just keeps featuring large banners telling people to buy stuff. Instagram is potentially highly lucrative for brands, and this is a very smart place for them to invest their time and their money. While this may be true though, it's also very different from other platforms and other social networks. What this means is that you need to approach it differently, and you need to have different objectives, lest you be disappointed. So, what does this mean? Well, for starters, you need to be aware that Instagram isn't about making direct sales and conversions. You can't include live links in your description that will send people anywhere, so you can't have a click here to buy now call to action. Remember, this is a good thing at the end of the day as far as your marketing is concerned. So instead, what you need to be focusing on is your brand's visibility, popularity, loyalty, and authority. Your aim is to build followers on Instagram so that they'll see your content and be constantly reminded about your brand and why it matters. Likewise, you want the people who already like your brand to learn to like it even more and to be constantly reminded that you exist and of all the great things that they can buy. This is very much a slow burn marketing strategy, and it should not be measured in terms of immediate ROI. This should be measured in terms of engagement, growth, and popularity. In the long term, this is actually much more valuable to you than a single sale. So now you know the power of Instagram and you know what your overall objective is. The next question is, how do you go about populating your account with content that will really stand out and get noticed? Of course, the majority of your content is going to be photos. The good news here is that you won't need a powerful camera to create these photos and can do a perfectly good job with a simple phone camera. Remember, the dimensions of your Instagram photos are relatively small and the filter is going to be able to hide any low resolution anyway. An HD camera will give you more to work with and you should get one if possible, but don't worry if you don't have one right away. What does matter is the subject and what you're going to be taking photos of. For a brand, this can be a difficult question. Obviously, Instagram caters very well to the creative brands and to companies that sell crafts, clothing, ornaments, or anything else that is aesthetically appealing, and anything that's likely to appeal to an audience that likes beautiful things. You know, if you knit plush toys or design shoes, then you can upload pictures of those to show off your products in a very stylish way. Restaurants and food companies, meanwhile, can be highly successful showing images of what they're cooking or preparing. Surprisingly, this will also work very well for technology companies, car manufacturers, even companies creating kitchen cutlery. Technology nerds can get surprisingly excited about some sexy new hardware, and if you compose the shot correctly, this can be very effective. Services might also work, whether you show photos of the beautiful websites you've helped to create, or you upload images of your team looking over the shoulder of someone working at the computer, for a consultant. Another angle to think of is the lifestyle and the value proposition surrounding your brand. There's a saying, you don't sell hats, you sell warm heads. Well, what's the equivalent of your warm head? In other words, if your company sells fitness equipment, you can upload photos of the equipment, but you can also upload photos of the lifestyle. Now this could mean a photo of a taped and chalked hand ready to pull up a bar. It could mean a photo of an empty protein shaker, or it could mean a picture of a figure running on the horizon against a sunrise. Maybe it means a picture of someone looking very confident as they ride one of your mountain bikes along a trail. If you sell holidays, then your photos should be of exotic locations, people relaxing in pools and people backpacking across the desert. This also works for services. If your company offers consultation, legal advice, accounting, that sort of thing, then you might have pictures synonymous with business and success, such as people looking out of their office block on the 20th floor, city lights at night, or hands shaking. In all these cases, you need to think about making the image look good in itself, and you need to think about how you're going to make the people reading it feel. You also need to think about your target demographic and how they want to feel. Ultimately, if your images inspire positive emotions, you'll get followers. A completely different approach to take might be to show images of your personal life, and this is useful for bloggers and entrepreneurs who want to create a personal brand. Actors, bloggers, digital marketers, musicians, YouTube stars, and more all have Instagram accounts that show what they're getting up to. The objective here is to allow your fans and followers a glimpse into your lifestyle so that they can feel like they know you. And this will build your brand loyalty and your authority, and it will make you more likable, thus increasing the chance that someone will buy from you. While the objective here is to provide an honest insight into your lifestyle, remember that you also want yourself to appear knowledgeable. If you're promoting a certain lifestyle or product, then you want to imply that this actually works. What this means is that you need to think about the way your photos make the viewers feel. Try and showcase your lifestyle in a way that makes it seem desirable and that makes you seem successful and confident. This will make your followers more likely to want to listen to your advice. Selfies are really popular on Instagram, of course, and this is the perfect place to use them. Finally, note that your Instagram content can also be designed to provide value as information or as entertainment. A great example of this would be a restaurant that also provided recipe ideas, or perhaps a clothing company that offered style suggestions and tips. Many people follow fashion accounts on Instagram to get ideas for clothes combinations as well as inspiration regarding good outfits and looks. You can provide inspiration via Instagram, tips, news, ideas for nights out. Think of what fits with your brand and how you can deliver useful information in a visual format. In the next video, I'll give you the lowdown on how to take amazing photos. Taking amazing photos is something that requires patience, something of a creative eye, and a bit of luck. We're not going to be able to cover the entire topic here, but I can provide a few tips that will help. For starters then, make sure that you always think about your foreground, your middle ground, and your background. Think about your composition in terms of where the subject, the focus of your photo is, and what the background is like around this point. From there, try mixing things up and making it more interesting. Interesting is the important word here because a lot of pictures are simply not interesting. Look at most people's holiday snaps, for instance, and they'll consist of people standing cross-armed in front of some kind of backdrop. And it's such a generic picture that it's completely boring, with no reference or scale. It's impossible to get a sense of what it felt like to be there. They may as well be in front of a green screen. Meanwhile, the front-on shot of that person, smiling awkwardly, evokes no emotion, and, it isn't particularly flattering. So, what could you do to make the picture look more interesting? Well, you might move the focal point slightly. How about putting the person on the left of the image or on the right? How about twisting the camera slightly? You can also get lower down and take the shot from underneath in order to make the person look bigger and create even more of a sense of scale. Next, you will think about creating depth and 3 dimensions. To do this, you might decide to add something to the foreground and keep it out of focus. How about a leaf on a tree, for instance, or even a blade of grass? Having something lead into the background from the foreground is another great way to create depth and scale, such as a garden path. Instead of having the person looking at the camera, why not have them gazing wistfully into the distance, or sitting on a ledge, or relaxing in the sun? This evokes much more emotion and makes it easier for the viewer to imagine being there. You can also have them doing something more interesting and perhaps interacting with the environment. They could be leaning against a tree, for instance, or they could have the leg up on a rock. This also provides something else to give a sense of scale and perspective. Blurring out the background is also an option, and you can do this by zooming in on your subject and then focusing on them. Some cameras have a function called macros, especially for this, while phone cameras will often let you double tap on the item that you want to focus on. While taking these photos, you also need to think about lighting. Lighting is something that amateur photographers will often forget, but it makes a huge difference and can make a picture much more flattering, or less so, for the person in it. Aim for Rembrandt lighting, which means you'll be lighting the photo from the side so that half of the person's face is lit. This creates more dynamic and interesting shadows. Always avoid having the light source behind the subject, as this creates glare. The exception is when you're purposely creating a silhouette effect or a glare effect. When you're taking photos of your activities, try to find items that tell a bigger story. For instance, if you want to tell the story of a dinner party, then often you can do this with a half-empty glass of wine and a cleared plate in the background. Want to evoke the feeling of working into the night? Well, instead of taking a photo of you working into the night, how about a photo of your keyboard next to a mug of coffee lit by a desk lamp spotlight? These kinds of photos are far more interesting and poetic than photos that are, on the nose. Now comes one of the most important aspects of Instagram, which can completely make or break your photos, regardless of how good they were to begin with. Filters essentially apply a collection of effects to your pictures, altering the contrast, the warmth, saturation, sharpness, blur, and more. Others might also apply effects like sepia or black and white. The filters available at the time of making this video are Lark, Raise, Juno, Slumber, Creamer, Ludwig, Arden, Perpetua, Amaro, Mayfair, Rise, Hudson, Valencia, X Pro 2, Sierra, Willow, Lo-Fi, Early Bird, Brana, Inkwell, Heafy, and Nashville. Each filter also tends to be particularly useful for evoking a particular theme or expressing an idea. Some make your image look vintage or retro, others make your image look more elegant or artistic. You need to think what you want to achieve with your photo. At the same time, you'll also now have the option of manually adjusting the effects on your photos, something that wasn't available until relatively recently. Options to adjust include Adjust for changing the angle and zooming in, Brightness for altering the brightness, Contrast for changing the difference between different tones, Structure, and this essentially adds detail to your images, Warmth, this brings out or subdues the warmth in your images so you can have more reds, oranges and other warm tones, or more blues, whites and cool tones. Saturation, and this is the amount of color in the image. Turn it all the way down for black and white, or all the way up for overly vibrant, dreamlike colors. Color, and this lets you choose a certain color to add more of in your image. Fade, and this lets you create the effect of your image having faded somewhat, and this can make it feel older. Highlights, and this increases or decreases the whites and light colors in your image. Shadows, and this increases or decreases the blacks and other dark colors. Vignette, this adds darker corners to your photo to highlight the center. Tilt shift adds blur functionality or surrounding the image in a circle, and this lets you create the sensation of movement or focus. Using the linear blur in particular can make the landscape look miniaturized, which is a fun effect. The secret to using filters and effects well? That would be less is more. If you overdo your use of filters, this can end up looking cheap, as though you can't take good photos on your own. At the same time, it can seem as though you're overexcited with all the options and that you're trying to use as many of them as possible. This is actually the reason that Comic Sans is considered to be such a poor choice of font. Comic Sans came with the original version of Word when people were first getting access to word processing. As the de facto fun choice of typeface, everyone started using Comic Sans in all their work, and all this did was offend legitimate graphic designers who could tell that the font had actually been very poorly designed. That said, using one of the filters occasionally when you think your picture could benefit from looking a little retro, a little vintage or a little artsy, is a great way to keep things fresh. Likewise, you should use blurs to make your camera look more impressive than it really is, or to highlight certain points of interest in your pictures. Tilt shifting is also a good choice a lot of the time. A lot of scenery pictures look even better when you slightly turn up the saturation. Of course, there's only so much you can do with a few filters and a few effects. If you want your photos to truly look amazing, you need to think outside the box and start using professional photo editing software. There's no reason, for instance, that you can't first do some editing in Photoshop or Illustrator before you upload your image to Instagram. Using Photoshop, for instance, you might opt to remove blemishes and spots from your face or the face of your subject or model. This is important if you're trying to sell a particular lifestyle. You can't look confident, sexy and successful if you have a cold sore. And you can find out more about Photoshop and Illustrator from adobe.com. For lighter image editing, another good app is Pixlr. Pixlr is a photo editing app that lets you not only edit your images by applying a few effects and text, but also by rearranging them. You can use Pixlr to create little collages, for instance, or mood boards. And this can be a great tool if you want to take 3 photos from a different event and arrange them in a way that tells a story. Likewise, it's also very useful if you want to add some text. Pixlr is practically designed to be used with Instagram, and this is a match made in heaven when you use the two together. You might also want to try Meme Generator, which you'll find here at memegenerator.net, if you're interested in making funny memes. Memes are often a safe way to get lots of likes and shares, as are inspirational quotes. You can get lots of motivational poster makers online too. Another great feature on Instagram is the ability to upload short videos, which is somewhat similar to Vine or Snapchat. You can use this to talk directly to your viewers, to tell a story or to convey something that you can't put across in words. You can even place a small advert here, although again you don't want to be too on the nose in terms of marketing. Something that's currently very popular is to use an app called Lapsit, which you can read about here at lapsit.com. Now, as you may have guessed by the name, Lapsit is a time-lapse app, which means it will film you for a while by taking photos once every 1, 10 or 60 seconds. This then creates a video that shows you changing position rapidly and which can tell a much better story in a few seconds than a regular video. Lapsit can be used, for instance, to show you and your friends playing in the sea or on the beach if your video is about travel. It can be used to show time passing while you work at the computer. It can be used to show a workout in a short space of time, lots of different things, and it's definitely one to consider adding. In the next video, I'll talk you through how you go about using tags to make your photos easy to find. You could have the very best photos in the world, but if no one looked at them, it wouldn't help you much. In other words, you need to ensure you're providing a way for your visitors to find your content, and the best way to do that is with tags. Tags tell people what your photos are about, and they can be used for comic effect or to make interesting observations. At the same time, though, your tags are also about getting found in the first place. So what you need to ask is, what are people likely to search for and what isn't already too crowded? If you're in amazing shape and trying to promote your protein shake, then uploading a photo of yourself topless after a workout is a great way to get tons of exposure. But this depends entirely on the tags that you use. If you just add the tag #fitness, for instance, you shouldn't expect it to bring in too many views. Why? Because this tag is just so popular and too widely used. In other words, hundreds or even thousands of people upload photos with this tag every few minutes, and as such, your image will be buried as soon as you upload it. On the other hand, #bossingit is probably a bit too obscure and unlikely to get searched for often at all. So instead, you might think of something like #obliques, which is a little less overcrowded but still popular. Maybe #washboard apps, or maybe #gym motivation. If you're unsure, do a search beforehand to see which tags are performing well for other people but aren't overly crowded. Hashtags are one way to grow your following, and I'll tell you some more tactics in the next video. Instagram is highly powerful and an amazing tool for growing your brand and getting more attention for your products, services and ethos. What Instagram is not, though, is magic. In other words, this isn't a case of build it and they will come. If you want to grow your audience and if you want to expand your reach, you need to put in the time and effort to get more people to find your account and to get more people to follow. The first way to do this is by using the right tags and by posting regularly. This way, you'll create more opportunities for people to find you on Instagram, and you'll bring more and more people onto your page. At the same time though, you can also rely on a few smart tricks to bring in even more viewers. The success of your channel is largely going to come down to how on the money you are with your tone, message and photos. In other words, are you uploading the right kind of stuff that your target demographic wants to see? Do you get them? The key to getting this right is taking some time to do market research up front. In other words, you shouldn't just guess who your audience is and what they're going to be interested in. You need to get out there and do the research. Now there are a number of ways you can accomplish this. One is simply to poll your customers and get them to tell you what sort of things they like. Another useful trick is to look at popular Instagram accounts of your competition. What are they posting that's helping them to do so well? Likewise, which other Instagram accounts are your customers following? This can also lead you to some tips and suggestions to take on board. Another big key to success is to stay consistent with your message and with your content. In other words, if you have decided to make your Instagram account a place where people can pick up fashion advice, then keep it that way. Don't suddenly veer into new territory by uploading a picture of you out with your friends on holiday. Likewise, if your account is all about fitness, don't upload a picture of your beer. It's fine to reach out from your direct niche from time to time, but do keep in mind that you should always keep your target audience and your message in mind when deciding whether or not to upload any new content. In the next video, I'll show you how to integrate Instagram with your website. You can promote your Instagram account through your website in a number of ways. The best way, though, is to consider adding a widget to your website that will show your most recent Instagram images. This has numerous advantages. For starters, it provides your website with a stream of regularly updated content that will ensure it always looks professional and doesn't become a ghost website. You know, it's highly unprofessional to have a website and then never update it. At the same time, it provides your site with something visual and personal. Again, great if you're promoting a personal brand. Moreover, it can lead to people who visit your site directly following you on Instagram. This is highly valuable when you think of your website like a sieve, and here we have a rather bad graphic interpretation of a sieve I give you. But look at it this way. All the people who visit, leave and don't come back are effectively lost to you forever, and you can no longer market to them. But when you have them following you on some kind of social media, you'll be able to approach them again, giving yourself multiple opportunities to turn them into leads and customers. You should also include a link to your main Instagram account somewhere on your site. And you can get a WordPress plugin which you can install from the main WordPress dashboard that will make this possible. And you can see here it adds buttons for Pinterest and Facebook and Twitter as well as Instagram at the top of the site. Likewise, you can also integrate your social media accounts with Instagram, and you should. Luckily, Instagram makes this very easy by allowing you to tick the other accounts you want to share to when you upload. This way, you can easily have your Instagram posts appear on Twitter, Facebook, Pinterest, and so on as well. When writing your description and tag, think about how this will play on other social media. For accounts that aren't integrated with Instagram, you can use the awesome tool IFTTT. IFTTT stands for If This Then That, and allows you to link all kinds of different social media accounts, mobile apps and web apps so that an action on one leads to a result on the other. So for instance, this might mean that when you upload something to Instagram, it automatically gets uploaded to your WordPress site as well as a new post. This can also be useful for a host of other things. For instance, you can get all your Instagram images to be added to Dropbox as well, so that you have them all backed up. And you can read more about this app at ifttt.com. So sharing across accounts is easy. At the same time though, you should also think about updating your various social media profiles so that they all feature consistent branding. Make sure that on Facebook, YouTube, Google+, LinkedIn, etc., that your cover image and your profile image are consistent and that they include your logo. Likewise, use the same username so that there's no confusion. Finally, and this is something that will work on your website too, don't be afraid to outright ask your followers on other social media to start following you on Instagram too. At the end of your next YouTube video, for instance, just mention to your viewers that you have an Instagram account and they should follow you because of XYZ. On Facebook, likewise, you can structure a post like, enjoy this content, then you'll love our Instagram account, and then you can give the details. Another strategy businesses use to increase their follower count on Instagram is to try and get their existing audience to help attract more people. There are a number of ways that this can be done. One great way to do this is to run a contest. Here you'll simply offer a prize for people taking a certain picture and uploading it with a tag. If you have a product such as a smartphone, for example, you can ask followers to post photos of themselves on your smartphone. If you have a certain item of clothing or a pair of shoes, then you can have a fashion contest and get your followers to post their outfit combinations that revolve around the item that you sell. Then simply tag your brand in the picture or use a particular hashtag and you can assess the winners and award a prize. This is fantastic for you because if you get lots of people to join in, you can gain huge exposure across the participants' networks. At the same time, they'll be engaging with you and they'll be showing off your product in dynamic photos and they'll generally be acting as ambassadors for your brand. This is the perfect scenario. Another option is simply to occasionally feature images of other customers. This way, you just say the best images that have a certain tag will be regrammed for your audience. This is fun exposure for them, but for you it means you'll constantly have a large number of users engaging with your brand and linking to it. This is like a low-level contest that will go on continuously. Caption contests are a great way to get people to engage with your photos and comment below, which in turn will help make your account look active and will get you more likes. Just take an obscure picture and then add caption contest in the description. And as a side note, getting likes, which look like a heart on Instagram, is a powerful strategy as it will help you get seen by more people. That's because there's a section on Instagram where you can see all the content that your friends have liked. This means that if people like your photos, they will show up in that section for more other people. If you want to take a more active approach in growing your network, then another way that you can do this is to comment on other people's images, like them, and follow people. Remember earlier that we said 65% of Instagram users find this flattering. This also plays to one of the big strengths of Instagram in particular, which is its highly narcissistic nature. That is to say, if you should like a picture someone has taken on Instagram, they will almost certainly at least be intrigued enough to look at your username and see what you have on your account. If they like what they see, they might just follow. The same goes for commenting, especially if you say something kind or witty, and for following, which works best if the person is clearly directly in your target demographic. So an active form of marketing that you can do on Instagram is simply to browse through images that have recently been uploaded, by looking at the hashtags that are relevant to your brand, and then to comment, like, and follow the people you find that way. As a result, you'll find you generate some interest and some significant new followers. Want to get more likes? A smart little trick you can use is to upload an image and then add the text if ... For instance, a picture of Bruce Lee with the text "double tap if you think this man is a legend" is likely to get you a huge amount of likes. The strategies I just mentioned can be used to try to help you get a large quantity of new followers. But this is really just one of two big ways you can work with other users on Instagram. The other big way is to stop focusing on quantity and instead to narrow down and focus on quality. This is what's known as influencer marketing. Influencer marketing means that you find someone who already has a large following on your chosen social platform and who has established themselves as an authority. These people will have the ability to sway the opinions of large groups of followers, which is where you eventually want to be. Instead of spending months or years trying to reach this point, why not piggyback on the success of someone who has already gotten there? In other words, why not see if you can't get someone to post on your behalf to their audience? Of course, there needs to be something in it for them, and this could mean that you pay them, or you promote them in exchange for them promoting you, a bit like an ad swap. Or you could just try targeting influential members of the public and hope that they'll like your brand enough to do it for free. One tool that you can use to this end is Instagram Direct, which is essentially a way of sending a picture to an individual user. This is a great way to show an influencer something you've done that they might be interested in or that you think their audience might be interested in. If you're lucky, they may give you a shout out. Very often, social media marketing can become even more effective when you combine it with real-world networking. This is certainly true of LinkedIn, and it's very true of Instagram. A great example of how this can work comes not from Instagram, but from Twitter. Do you know what the most retweeted tweet of all time is? That would be the selfie that Ellen DeGeneres took at the Oscars, and which featured the likes of Brad Pitt, Bradley Cooper, Kevin Spacey, and Angelina Jolie. Why was this picture so successful? No doubt because each of those stars would have retweeted it, and this would then in turn have been retweeted by many of their collective millions of fans. And as you can see here at the time that I'm making this video, it's been retweeted more than 3 million times. What does all this have to do with Instagram? Simple. If you can bag a selfie with yourself and someone who has a fair amount of clout, then you have a legitimate excuse to tag them and to include them in your marketing. As a result, your content will then be seen by all of their followers, which can lead to lots more people following you. This is one of the few ways that you can almost guarantee that you'll get to partake in someone's influencer marketing, and it almost doesn't require their actual participation. This is a very big and important reason to go to networking events if you aren't going already. If you go to events where you're likely to meet lots of other marketers, you'll potentially be able to gain access to all their followers through social media. In the next video, I will talk you through how businesses are actually using Instagram. Creating great photos to promote your product or service is the basic strategy that pretty much any business will use to promote itself online. But there are other more innovative things that you can do here as well. At the same time, it can certainly be helpful to look at other companies to see how their Instagram account is being used for inspiration. Here are some examples of companies that are using Instagram well. Sharpie has a very popular account on Instagram, and it's a fantastic match between brand and medium. The great thing about Sharpies is they can be used to create images and messages, and these are what you will find when you visit their Instagram account. The other great thing about Sharpie is they manage to encourage the involvement of their users and followers who can post their own messages too. The Instagram account has shown the company to be hip and on the ball. It's demonstrated the versatility of their product, and it's led to a lot of new sales. And there's Red Bull, and Red Bull is simply fantastic at social media. On Facebook, Twitter and YouTube, they are constantly uploading videos and images of people doing flips on bikes, performing amazing athletic feats, and generally living the gives you wings message. On Instagram, things are no different, and you have the images and video clips of surfing, motocross, festivals, mountain ranges, and more. This is a great example of a company that doesn't sell a visual product, succeeding in a visual medium by focusing on lifestyle, the message, and the feeling of what goes down well on Instagram. Starbucks is another company that's shown itself to be very savvy with social media. The company has a presence on pretty much every social media and is doing very well on Instagram. They encourage engagement in a positive way by posting the photos their customers submit. They have a lot of humour on display too, and the ability to poke fun at themselves. This is a great way for any company to get people to warm to it. At the same time, Starbucks wins because it again sells a lifestyle. Some people are passionate about coffee, and coffee is also a big deal in a lot of foreign cultures. All things that the company has taken full advantage of. For those looking for a personal brand to emulate, Schwarzenegger is a particularly good example. On his account he shows images of red carpet openings, posters for his movies, workouts in the gym, and personal messages for his fans. There's a lot of humour on the account, but also a great insight into what his life is like. He's done a great job of staying relevant even as he's getting older, and a lot of younger celebrities can learn from him. He's also big on Twitter, Facebook, and even Snapchat. Beyond the Week is a fitness brand that sells t-shirts and other products and has a pretty smart system going. The brand simply shares images of followers who take photos of themselves working out, especially when they're wearing their t-shirts. This way they get a lot of free promotion from other users and have very effectively engaged their user base. LA Clippers are a fantastic example of a company that does Instagram well. Of course, the LA Clippers are a basketball team, and they use their account to post awesome images of players taking shots, training, working, and more. These photos are dynamic, dramatic, and with a great choice of filters. Some of them look like they belong in a magazine. Target Style is a fashion company that shows off its clothes, outfits and ideas in an amazing series of photos. Not only do they do this with pictures of people wearing their clothes, but also with photos of people backstage, of fashionable interior decor, of happy-looking people, and generally of things to take on holiday. It's a great place for people to get inspiration and to feel fashionable simply by following. It's also great for selling the company's products. We discussed the concept of influencer marketing earlier and saw how it could be highly beneficial for any business. How are other brands using this strategy? One good example is Birchbox, which teamed up with lifestyle blogger Emily Schumann, who runs Cupcakes and Cashmere. They got her to curate their May box of products, and she in turn posted 5 separate Instagram images promoting the partnership. Between those 5 images, she managed to generate 18,000 likes for the brand and reached over 550,000 users. Boxed Water is a brand with a very eco-friendly message. They work with influencers like Jamie King, Megan DeAngelis and Aidan Alexander, and have a campaign where they will plant 2 trees for every image with the hashtag #ReTree. This generated 2,600 photos with the tag in the space of just 1 month. This is something interesting to consider for your own brand. People love getting behind a cause, and they love getting behind a message. If you're a charity, or if you're supporting a charity, you'll find it much easier to find influencers you can work with. You don't have to be a charity to benefit though. Just make sure you have a clear mission statement and that your business stands for something more than just earning money. Even the most cynical businesses normally started with some kind of aspiration, even if it was just to provide delicious food and to make the world a tastier place. Try to remember what that mission statement was and then start shouting it from the rooftops and getting people to believe it. Send it through your imagery and use it to get more influencers on board. A lot of what we've looked at here will work particularly well for online businesses. E-commerce stores have a lot to gain from Instagram because they can highlight products that are just a few clicks away for their followers. Likewise, bloggers can use Instagram to grow their personal brand and to help their followers and fans feel connected. But it can also have a particular use for local businesses. If you have a chip shop, a hairdresser's, or anything else, then you might want to alter your strategy slightly, but it can still be effective. The first thing to consider using here is the location tag. You can tag your images by location, and this allows people nearby to find them. This is a great way to improve your chances of being found for the specific target demographic that you're aiming at. After all, if you run a hair salon, there's not really much point in having your followers all around the world, unless you're planning on franchising soon. Another tip is to use local hashtags. People will often look for hashtags in their local area, and this is a great way to discover things that are going on. It works on Twitter too, so if you also share your post to Twitter, you can bring people in this way. Likewise, you should search for local hashtags regularly and then comment on and like the pictures that you find. This works particularly well for tourist attractions. Why? Because when we travel, we'll actually be more likely to use local hashtags. You don't tend to put your location tag in every single one of your photos at home, but if you're visiting another part of the country, you're more likely to use those hashtags. If you then see that your photo has been liked or commented on by Nights Out in Buckinghamshire, for example, then you might be inclined to have a look and see if it's something that might interest you. And remember, real-world networking also works very well when it comes to Instagram. If you run a local business, then chances are you'll interact with lots of customers who have Instagram accounts on a face-to-face basis, and they will probably have a large number of local followers. If you have a customer come into your store then, ask them to follow you on Twitter. Better yet, get a photo with them in it and then tag them in it. This can also be a fantastic way to promote your product. So for instance, if you run a hair salon, why not take a picture of each of your customers with their new hairdo and tag them in it? Ask their permission first, of course, but you'll likely find that most people are more than willing to be featured. This way, all their friends in the local area will see what a good job you've done and will be more likely to get in touch if they want their hair cut. It also works for restaurants. Why not take photos of your guests and ask if you can tag them, or tell them to see their pictures on your Instagram account. This gives them a reason to seek you out and start following you. You can do the same in clubs and bars too, for organized events and much, much more. Note here that people are far more likely to agree to be tagged, to add them onto Instagram and to generally take part if you take the effort to get to know them and be friendly when they come into your store. If you go into a shop, buy a product and then leave, you'll likely ignore any offer to follow them on Instagram. But if that store owner takes an interest in you, if they go the extra mile to help you find the perfect product and they introduce themselves by name, then those people will often feel far more inclined to follow you or to take part in your promotions. If nothing else, they'll do so simply out of politeness. This is a key fact to realize in all of your marketing online. It should be a real extension of who you are and what you want to portray. Now you have all the information you need to start running a highly effective Instagram campaign that can help add value to your business, that will send the message that you want to send, and that will bring many more followers to your brand. This is a highly effective tool, and if you follow these tips to the letter, you'll find it offers amazing ROI. But while you have a lot of information now, that doesn't guarantee your strategy is going to be flawless right from the start. In fact, it's still highly unlikely that this will be the case. What's more likely is you'll start off slowly, make lots of mistakes, and generally take an awfully long time to develop a really big following. The point is, to be successful, you really need to spend some time knee-deep in Instagram marketing to learn what works and what doesn't. This means giving it a go, looking at what works and what doesn't, and then gradually honing and improving your strategies and your offerings. This is key in any area of internet marketing. Getting feedback, analyzing your data, and looking at what works is how you evolve your strategy to become optimized for the market that you're in. Unfortunately, when you compare Instagram to something like Google AdWords, the tools available for assessing your performance are relatively lacking. You just don't have access to the same level of data that you do with those tools. So how do you get around this and continue to improve at your Instagram marketing? One method is simply to pay attention and to take notes. Compare what's working with what isn't and take note of which hashtags bring in the most hits. There's one thing about Instagram. There's no reason why you can't keep using the same hashtags over and over again. In other words, if you've uploaded an image that has gone mad on Instagram with a certain hashtag, there's no reason why you can't use the exact same hashtags and expect to get roughly the same response. Remember, the way that Instagram works means that your goals are going to be slightly different here versus a channel like Facebook. In other words, your aim is not to get direct conversions or traffic, so don't use that as a metric to measure your success. Instead, look at your likes, your follows, and your general engagement to see what's working. In the final video of this series, we'll bring it all together and I'll put together an Instagram marketing plan that you can start to use and hit the ground running. And there you have it. That's everything you could possibly need to know about Instagram marketing in order to achieve true excellence. At this point, you know what Instagram is, how it works, and how to use the myriad features and options to your advantage. What's more though, you also have some insight as to the psychology of Instagram, and you know some of the advanced techniques that you can use to hack your growth and explode onto the scene. To round it all off then, let's structure all of that information into a plan that can really work for you and which you can adapt to suit your brand. So, in your Instagram marketing plan, the first step is going to be to identify your market and create your brand. To start with, you need to find who it is you're marketing to, and you need to know what your message is. Now, this is important because it'll tell you how you're going to go about creating your image on Instagram, and it will tell you what kind of content you should be uploading. Think about lifestyles and messages and try to evoke what your brand represents as well as what it produces. Likewise, ensure you have a strong identity with a recognizable logo and then use this across all of your social media efforts. Research the competition too and survey your existing customers. Step 2. Decide what kind of channel you are and begin uploading content. Decide if you're interested in creating a personal brand or if you're about promoting specific artistic products. Likewise, choose whether you want to upload images that are abstract and broadly paint a picture of a lifestyle, or whether you want to upload images that provide some kind of value or tips, for instance. Try different hashtags and make sure you're posting with ones that will bring in new traffic. Step 3. Be consistent, do promotion, synergize across social media and your website. Keep your content coming and make sure that you're sharing to other social media accounts as well as Instagram. Outright ask people to follow you. Meanwhile, research people who are posting images in your niche and follow or like their work. Comment on other images and add a widget to your own site. All these activities will ensure a steady trickle of new users which will gain momentum over time. Step 4. Run contests, use local marketing, get people involved. You should also work to try and motivate your existing followers to grow your audience further. Running contests, getting people to comment, using caption contests for example, and sharing the images that other users have uploaded are all great ways to get people to add to your account and to stay lively and engaged. Do local marketing by location tagging your images and by using local hashtags. If you're local, you should also get your customers involved as they come in. Take photos of them and ask them to tag you in their pictures. Influencer marketing can also help a great deal. Get people behind your message and leverage the groundwork other individuals and brands have done before you. Finally, Consider these vital Instagram marketing do's and don'ts to guide you as you head forward in your efforts. Do engage with your audience, respond to comments, and generally stay active. Don't let your account become a ghost town with no new photos and no new comments or likes. Do use real-world networking to help enhance your Instagram efforts. Do put real thought into your images. Do consider using stock images when you're at a loss, such as those from Comfight. Don't upload content that doesn't gel with your mission statement, your tone, or your niche. A consistent and strong brand identity is key. Do create a good logo to use across all your social media. Don't be too salesy or pushy. Instagram is not the place for that. Don't measure your success based on conversions. Instagram is about art, expression, and the personal touch. Do think about the lifestyle you want to portray and the emotion behind that. Do look for the beauty and the artistic opportunity in everyday activities. Hopefully, throughout the course of this video series, you will have learned a great number of techniques that you can use to grow your Instagram account and to find new followers and customers. At the same time though, what's actually more important is that you understand the feel of Instagram and the kind of user it attracts. Instagram is about finding the beauty in the mundane. From a business perspective then, that means showing what's beautiful, sexy, inspirational or desirable about your business and what you offer. So ask yourself, what do you offer? Do you offer people fitness, health, confidence, happiness? Do you offer them indulgence, travel, taste? Or do you provide opportunities, success and wealth? Tap into the emotion behind your own brand and expose that through Instagram. Then use that platform to help other people get as excited about your message as you are. That's how you do Instagram marketing right. And I wish you every success.